Red Star left winger Stefan Mitrović has officially been sold to Verona for 1.3 million euros, and 20% of next sale. Stefan Mitrović is currently worth 3 million euros on transfer market. So Red Star did sell under what he's valued, but I think with the 20% added on, I think they feel like they're going to get that money back, from future sales and whatnot. Now, just to rewind back to last summer, Verona and Hertha Berlin, if I'm not mistaken, offered 5 and 5.5 million euros for Stefan Mitrović. Red Star rejected it because at the time Stefan Mitrović was getting called up to the national team. He was playing well for Red Star, and that they thought that they would be able to sell Stefan for the upwards of probably 10 million euros in a year or two, which obviously didn't work out the way that they thought it would. Stefan represents Serbia at international level, even though he could have represented Canada as well, since he was raised here. I live in Canada, so he was raised here until he left for Serbia when he was 16 or 17 to play for Radnički Niš. And then after Radnički Niš, he joined Red Star Belgrade, represented Serbia at the U20 and U21 levels, and as well as the senior national team now. He had 2 goals last season in the Europa League, both against Ferencvaros, both in back-to-back matches. And I think that was the moment when a lot of fans thought that Stefan Mitrović had cemented himself as a full-time starter at Red Star and a player that the team could count on in the years going forward. Hasn't worked out like that for him. Hasn't been able to nail down a starting position, and he's kind of been used as a sub sometimes as a starter and whatnot. He just hasn't been that consistent starter that they thought that they were going to get. So in terms of his position, he's predominantly a left winger. He can play left midfield as well as right midfield. And the interesting thing here is he can play as a left wing back as well. So when Brock Bahar took over Red Star at the start of this season, Bahar has been sacked since. But when Bahar took over, he played Stefan as a left wing back in a 3-5-2 formation. So it was, or a 5-3-2, whatever you want to call it. So it was a breath of fresh air, I think, for Mitrović. And I think a lot of fans got to see him display his defensive characteristics, as well as his obviously offensive characteristics that he does possess. So I thought it would be good for him to kind of strengthen his defensive attributes, and he did that very well. In terms of his speed, he's a very fast player. So in that defensive end, if he ever does lose a duel, which happened, I don't want to say often, but it did happen at times, just because it was a new position for him, he was able to kind of get himself back into play because he did have the speed to kind of keep up with the opposition's players. So I was actually excited for him to get that new rollout, and I thought that he played well. Verona, from what I've looked into their roster, they're weak at left wing back, at both the wing back positions, and left midfielder or left wing. I think Darko Lazovic is pretty much the team's only left midfielder or left wing, whatever you want to call it. And I think that they only have one left back from what I saw in their roster, and it's a player who's on loan. He's a Portuguese left back. I forget his name now, but so yeah, he's not gonna have a lot of, from what I've seen, he's not gonna have a lot of competition at the position. So if he could come in, play hard, and play well, he could get a lot of minutes for Verona. And I think he has a real chance here because he can do that. He can play well. Now, I've also looked at the formations. 3-4-2-1, 3-5-2, 4-2-3-1 are the formations that Verona currently uses. I think the last 10 matches or so has just been 4-2-3-1, which is something that Mitrović can fit in as a left wing, left midfielder or left wing. It doesn't matter. He can really play either of the wing positions. The thing with him playing at Red Star, when Miloš Milojević was with the club last season, and I think even Dan Stanković did that before him, the two wings usually rotate. So during a match, even if Mitrović starts as a left wing, it doesn't mean that he's not going to go into the right wing and try to do something there. So there's a lot of rotations going on with the front three or front four, depending on how you look at it. And Red Star did a lot of that in the past 2 years. And I would love a 3-5-2 formation for him. I want to see if he's able to play a left wing back or a right wing back at a higher level, because he showed it for Red Star that he can play that position. I really wonder if he can cement himself as a really good wing back. and that way he can play both ways, defensively and offensively. He's really good in space. His one-on-one skills are very good. Loves taking on defenders, which is great for a young player. I think his precision and he gets his shots on targets a lot. I wouldn't say, I mean, every player misses on occasion. I would say that he does get his shots on target quite a bit. Can really swing in a ball from either wing, and we saw that when he played as a left wing back or a right wing back. When he was able to whip in the ball to whoever was the center forward, he's really good at that. I think using his movement is a serious weapon, and I'm going to see if he's able to do that in this Serie A. I do try to watch a lot of, not a lot, but I do try to watch Serie A quite a bit. One of my favorite leagues out there. So I want to see if his movement into open space, if he uses it the same way that he did at Red Star. So I think that's a very important for him. With his speed and his ability to get around and his agility, I think that's very important for him, whatever league that he played in. But I want to see, again, if he can do it in a better league, against better competitions. It's one thing doing it at Red Star. It's a completely different thing doing it in Serie A, one of the top 5 leagues in the world. And great finisher and dribbler. As I said, his finishing is actually really, really good. And his dribbling, he's willing to take on defenders, as I said. That's one of his main attributes. And I want to see him do that and to get even better at that at the next level. I think he needs more strength to his frame, especially if he's going to play the wing back position where he's going to have to defend a little bit more than kind of what he's used to. So adding strength, adding upper body strength to where he can kind of, put himself between, the man and the ball, it would go a long ways for him. We'll see if he can do that. But apart from that, I think I think he could fit in a role greatly at Verona. The only thing I'll say is when he's faced with adversity, I feel like he does back down. So once Red Star started signing players this past offseason, I think that he looked at it as competition. He kind of shied away. That's just my opinion on it. I don't know if he's really ready to fight for a role in the club. He might be satisfied coming off the bench. It didn't look like he minded at Red Star. I hope that changes with him at Verona, and when he does go, on a transfer to a different team, whenever that is. I just want to see a little bit more fight for him. I feel like he gave up a lot. So when he's faced adversity, he kind of backs down a little bit. So I want to see more fight from him when it comes to that. And honestly, again, was just never able to nail down a starting position. He'd play well 2 or 3 matches, and then he'd have 2 or 3 matches where, he's invisible and you just can't see him on the pitch. And I think that's something, the consistency, he has to get absolutely better at. And if I had to point out to one thing with him, it's his consistency. It's absolutely a consistency. There's things in his game that he needs to improve, but if the consistency gets there, everything else is going to get better. With more playing time, it's more time to work on your strengths, and it's more time to improve your weaknesses. So I think with playing time at Verona, he's going to get a lot better than that. Again, from the looks of it, I would say that there's not much competitions in the positions that he does play. Verona's in that relegation zone area, so he's going to have to fight hard, and the team's going to have to fight hard to stay up in the Serie A, and he's going to have to be a pivotal part of that. And I think he's going to get playing time from day one. He was very good for Red Star last season, and this season again he tailed off. There was a lot more competition for places, with a lot of new guys coming in, with a lot of younger players from the Red Star Youth Academy coming in and vying for position, vying for playing time. So I just wish him the best at Verona. I hope he does well. If you guys have any questions for me, please put them down in the comments. Would love to answer them. Thank you.